My name is Nic Dias. I am a senior research fellow at First Draft. My boss, Claire Wardle, and I are going to be joining you next weekend, teach you about social monitoring, social data mining, and verification of online content. We're all really looking forward to meeting you, Claire via Skype, and thanks for getting up early on a Saturday morning to have this talk with me. So like I said, next week we're going to be learning how to use some tools designed to help journalists monitor social networks effectively. And among those are CrowdTangle and NewsWhip. All right, here's CrowdTangle and NewsWhip. Both really great. Both allow you to create dashboards, which are basically social feeds that are generated using search queries and lists of accounts. Which means that you can have a more focused feed, a feed focused on what you're interested in, as opposed to just looking for a bunch of windows on Facebook or Twitter. They both have really similar features. CrowdTangle is free, but because it's free, a lot of people are wanting to get their hands on it, and so there's a long line to get access to CrowdTangle. However, because we have a relationship with them, First Draft has a relationship with CrowdTangle, we're going to be getting you all access. So awesome. And we're also going to be getting you to NewsWhip, which is a paid tool, just FYI. But we still wanted to show you the tool because it's been really important to us. It's been really useful for us. And on the off chance that your news organization can get access. And of course, we're also going to be learning how to pull data directly from Facebook and Twitter. And we're going to be doing that using Python scripts. Python is a programming language. It's a pretty good one, a simple one. I know that programming probably sounds a little bit, for those of you who have no experience in programming, maybe a little bit daunting. But actually, we're just going to be working with a command line tool running Python scripts. So it's going to be very, very simple. That said, I won't be presenting any of the data collection material right now because even with basic programming, things are very finicky, very tricky. Things are definitely going to go wrong. And I want to be there for you when that happens so that we can work through it. Okay, so regardless of whether we're talking about social monitoring or social data mining, we are going to need two things: search queries and user lists, or in the case of Facebook, lists of pages and groups. And the reason that we need this in the case of both is that, like I mentioned with CrowdTangle, this social feed here is generated by either a list or a search. Same as the case with NewsWhip. And in the case of accessing data directly from Twitter or Facebook servers, we are also using search queries and user lists. So we're passing that information to Twitter and Facebook servers so that they can give us back the data that we want. So in either case, we need search queries and user lists. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be going over a few tips on searching Facebook and Twitter. That way, you can spend some time on your own putting together search queries and putting together lists of users or lists of pages and groups, in the case of Facebook, on your own time. And that way we can get a head start on next weekend. Before I go into those tips, though, I wanted to take a moment to talk about a few definitions, just because I know that these sort of data and computational definitions get thrown around a lot, and it's not always clear what they mean. So I just wanted to spend a moment on it. So we're going to define social monitoring as the process of monitoring custom feeds that are, one, designed to capture newsworthy conversations as you define them, and two, are typically ordered by chronology, popularity, or virality. So depending on the search query or the user list that you're talking about, obviously, if you were looking at a feed that was populated by tweets from Donald Trump or tweets about Donald Trump, that feed is going to be moving a lot quicker than, say, the account of random Joe Schmo. And so it's important to be able to order these feeds by something other than chronology, so that you're not wasting your time. So that you don't have a feed rapidly moving before your eyes, and so that you're not wasting your time with posts that aren't going to go anywhere. Okay. And in the case of social data mining, that's the process of using APIs, or application programming interfaces, to collect data directly from the servers of the social networks. And so APIs you can think of as just systems that companies like Twitter set up to allow programmers to pull data from them. And really, what the API is a set of rules for writing HTTP requests or web requests. These are, well, not this specifically, but this is a web request, right? And so what an API is a system of writing these web requests to the server. These are requests that you send to the server, and that give back data. And this system for writing URLs is designed to be simple, so that programmers can pull whatever data they need really easily. Okay, so big question: what can we do with social monitoring and social data mining? Why are we even bothering them with this? Well, if you have some well-crafted social feeds, custom social feeds for yourself, you can identify trends and interesting content quickly, more quickly than you otherwise would. In the case that information is bad information, is false information, is a hoax or a rumor, you can debunk it quickly, which means that it has less of a chance to influence the citizens of Colombia. You can describe the evolution of a trend. So this is actually discussion about the term, or discussion or tweets using the term election in Colombia right now. And so with access to these social monitoring tools, and in this case, we're looking at a graph from TrendsMap, you can start to tell these stories about social trends and how they emerged, how they changed over time. Also, you can search for social bots. And I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with the term social bot. A social bot is just a robot designed to live on Twitter or Facebook, and people generate these bots for the purpose of, well, they do it for commercial reasons, but they also do it to push particular messages on social networks. Those motives can be financial or political. But in any case, with access to data from the social networks, we can look at the frequency with which accounts are posting, for example, and use that information to get a sense of whether or not they're a bot. There are also other characteristics that we look at, and we'll talk about that next week. We can also just generally monitor relevant conversations, so that we always have our finger on the pulse of a conversation that we're interested in, so to speak. And we can also compare the popularity of, say, what we like to refer to as fake news, this term that's been around since the end of the U.S. election. We can compare the popularity of fake news with conventional news, as Craig Silverman did at the end of, or in the midst of the U.S. election, which I'm probably heard of. It made some pretty big waves on the internet. Okay, so let's jump into it. We're going to start with Twitter. Okay, so we're going to begin by talking about how to find Twitter lists. And if you're not familiar with Twitter lists, Twitter, they're just lists of accounts or users that users of Twitter generate if they want to follow a group of accounts together for whatever reason. So you could have a list for Colombian politicians, for example. Lists are in fact a way of putting together groups of users to monitor. And learning how to search for other users' Twitter lists will help save you a lot of time, because rather than having to build your own lists of users from nothing, you can use the work someone else has already done. Now, unfortunately, Twitter does not allow you to search for lists anymore. It used to have a feature where you could do that. You can't do it anymore. But that's fine because there's a Google trick which allows you to search all public Twitter lists simultaneously. So specifically what we're going to be using is the Google Cite operator, and that's this thing right here. And what this thing does is limits our search to web pages with URLs that match the pattern here. Okay, and so what we're talking about right here, in this case, is the pattern for a URL of a user's Twitter list. So, for example, let's go to Claire's account, okay, and we'll click on our lists, and you see how this URL matches that pattern. It looks like this, right? Just an asterisk. What that wildcard is it's a universal placeholder. Okay? So that's taking the place of the username of the user, and it can match any string in that space. So effectively, by searching this way, by adding this little operator to our search query, again, we're searching all public user Twitter lists. Okay, so let's look at a quick example of that. So we'll go site, twitter.com, lists. Okay. And we see when we search that, we get nothing but Twitter lists here. All right, now let's add a little bit more information. So all we got to do is add our search query to the end of it. So we have the search operator, the site operator right here, and then just our regular search query right here. And that gives us a list of Twitter or search results full of Twitter lists that we might be interested in. And so we can grab these Twitter lists, follow them on Twitter, start compiling, well, lists of lists. And specifically, what we're searching here is the names of Twitter lists. Okay, so you notice that every search result here, the term that we searched is in the name of the list. So specifically, what we're searching are the names of these lists. And so you want to think about when you're searching for Twitter lists, how somebody might name a list that you're interested in. And you want to be sure to try different versions of the same term or similar terms. Just think of all the possible combinations of how somebody could name a list that you might be interested in to find what you're looking for. And there's actually a lot of useful Google operators, operators being these little special terms that you can add to a Google search to make your search more powerful. There's a really useful guide here that I'll point you to, and I'll send this link to Mariana so she can give it to you all so you can look over it. All right. Another really useful way of finding Twitter lists is to actually go to a user's profile and look at the lists that that person is subscribed to or that person has created, and also looking at the lists to which that person belongs. So if you have a journalist that you admire, or if you know of a journalist who is interested in a topic or a similar topic to what you're interested in, you can simply go to that person's profile. Again, we're clicking this list button, and just look through the lists that they've subscribed to or they've created for themselves, and it'll tell you the creator right here. Alternatively, if you maybe don't know what a person would name the list, if you're not really sure, you know you have there's probably a list that you're out there that you're interested in, but you maybe don't know quite what somebody would name it, but maybe you have a sense of who would be on that list. Well, then you can say go to the page of a Colombian politician and look at the lists that person belongs to, and find the lists that way as well. You can also, of course, build lists manually. by yourself. Of course, that takes a little bit more time. But one tip that I would give you, one caution I would give you, is to make sure that or try to use lists from users that you trust. Try to get a sense of who that person that created that list is. And I say that just because there are a lot of nonsense lists out there. In fact, social bots will create lists in order to make themselves look more natural, and presumably to connect with one another once as well. But that's neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. Just be careful. The moral is just be careful when you're pulling a Twitter list from somebody. Okay. Now, while you're going through this process, you're going to end up with a lot of lists, a lot of Twitter lists. And a lot of these lists are probably going to serve a similar purpose. You might have 5 different lists for Colombian politicians, for example. And maybe you'd really like to combine those lists into one larger or bigger list. Well, you can do that. There's a tool called Twitter list copy. Here's a URL for it. Actually, if you just Google Twitter list copy, this will be toward one of the first results. And all you have to do, let me see, we reload it so that I can log in for you. Actually, I'll get logged in. There will be a little blue button here asking you to connect to your Twitter account. So you'll just click that, log into your Twitter account, and then you'll just specify right here the owner of the list that you're looking to combine. So if I've already subscribed to a list or created the list, I can look at my own lists and I can go through the lists that I've created, and I can say, okay, I want to take this one. I want to take Astoria LIC, and I want to copy it to the West Pennsylvania list. And so by copying it, we are adding this list onto this list here. Okay, we just click copy, and there we go. We have added 30 people to my West Pennsylvania list from my Astoria LIC list. All right, so that's the process generally of looking for Twitter lists and combining them. Okay, now we're going to talk about searching for posts on Twitter. So we've talked about we've generated our list of users, but now we want to look for posts. We want to generate search queries to surface posts that we're interested in. So searching for interesting conversations on Twitter, for example, is as simple as just identifying terms that are likely to be used in the posts you're interested in or in the conversations that you're interested in. And here I'm using the word term broadly to refer to really any string of characters. So that can include a website, the domain to a website. That can include hashtags, and that can also include usernames. So as you're thinking about search queries for conversations that you're interested in, ask yourself a couple of questions. For example, ask yourself, do I know any websites that tend to produce false content, for instance? If I'm interested in tracking misinformation about the election, do I know of any websites that tend to produce false content? Or do I simply know websites about which interesting conversations tend to happen? You can put that in your search query. Or you might think about words or phrases that might be included in the conversations that you're interested in, or again, particular hashtags. And also you want to think about, are there particular users, are there people or organizations that you think are going to be mentioned in this conversation that you're interested in? And you might want to add that to your search query as well. Something that's great about searching for posts on Twitter is that Twitter has a ton, like Google, Twitter has a ton of search operators, which makes it really, really easy to write useful search queries. So, for example, let's say I wanted to search for, oh, that looks good. Say I wanted to search for Trump. Okay, well, that's simple. I just search for Trump, and I get tweets about Trump. Well, let's say I want tweets about a very specific Trump. I want tweets about Eric Trump. Well, I can use quotes which essentially searches, by using these quotes, I am searching this exact phrase in Twitter. So rather than just searching Eric and Trump, which will probably tend to give me Eric and Trump adjacent to one another or next to one another. It doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Trump could be over here and Eric could be over here. But by adding quotes around it, I'm searching on that exact phrase. Now, all of these posts are going to include the exact phrase, Eric Trump. Another useful operator, it's probably a little bit bigger for you all, is the or operator. So let's say I was interested in tweets that mentioned either Trump or Clinton. Use the or operator, and I would get tweets that mention either Trump or Clinton. Okay, well, what if I want to look at tweets that are just about, or are only about Trump and Clinton? Well, I can change this or to an and. Now I'm looking at only a feed of only tweets that mention both Trump and Clinton. Let's also say that, so I have a pretty useful search query here, but it's not quite perfect. And let's say, yeah, here we go. Let's say I'm not particularly interested in tweets about her emails, right? These aren't useful to me. You can also use the minus operator. So I can just do minus email. And what this does is eliminates all tweets that also mention the term email. So what we're dealing with here, what we're gonna get back when we press enter are tweets that mention both Trump and Clinton, but do not mention emails. There we go. The email, now as you can see, that email tweet is gone. The reason that it didn't disappear the first time is because it said emails rather than email. So if you wanted to get rid of tweets that included both email and emails, use both. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Another really, really useful search operator that's actually not included. Oh, I should mention that like this document here, there is a similar document that was by Twitter for search operators from Twitter. And actually there's one specifically to Spanish. Actually, all the operators that I showed you have the Spanish counterparts. So if you prefer to use the Spanish operators, you can do that. They work exactly the same. And I'll also send that document to Mariana, that link to Mariana, so that you all can have that. But like as I was saying, parentheses are actually not included in that document, but they're extremely useful because they allow you to contain parts of your query. So they allow you to do things like this. I can say I want tweets with Eric or Ivanka, one of those names, and Trump. So by setting this off, I'm saying, give me either Eric or Ivanka, but it also must include Trump. So essentially, this search query is an equivalent to Eric Trump or Ivanka Trump. Anyway, so that's really useful, particularly if you're dealing with really long queries. It can be a way to save space, which is important when you're working with certain tools like TweetDeck, because your search queries can only be so long before it starts to cause you problems. And you can think of this as a little bit like parentheses in math. You're setting apart a part of the query, just like you're setting apart part of the calculation that you're doing. And you can combine lots of Twitter operators to make extremely complex queries. This is one example from election land. We were using this query to look for reports of problems at polling stations. So we have the personal reference, me, myself, so that we can surface eyewitness reports. And then we covered all the sorts of different problems that could potentially happen. in this one search query. So we were capturing everything in one go. Okay. Let's move on to Facebook and just a little bit of Instagram. Okay. How do we find interesting pages and groups on Facebook? Well, you could use Facebook's native search. It's the search bar right here at the top of Facebook that's always there. You can use that to search for pages and groups. But the problem with it is that it only matches names. And this is what I mean by that. Facebook, and I'll search again, let's say Donald Trump. And then I'll go to pages. As you can see, the name of every page in this list includes both the word Donald and the word Trump. This is what I mean when I say that when you're searching within Facebook itself, you're only searching the names of pages and groups. But again, Google comes in handy. So using the site operator again, we can search for pages and groups in Facebook. But in addition to searching for names of Facebook groups or pages, we can search within those pages and groups descriptions as well as their posts. Okay, let's go to Google. So like before, we're going to use the site operator. At this time, we're going to give it a different pattern, a different URL, right? We're going to give it the URL for the group results, right? And in the case of pages, this would just be pages. Okay. And then we'll search for Donald Trump. And as we can see, we get a list of a bunch of pages that include Donald Trump. All right. And you can see that it's matching on the description. You can see right here that it's matching on the description in addition to the name. Okay. So one problem with searching for pages specifically in Google is that you're going to get a lot of places. When you search for pages in Facebook, you're going to get a lot of places simply because a lot of pages on Facebook are for places. So to fix that, zoom in here a little bit. We're going to use the minus operator again. So again, what the minus operator does is it eliminates results that have that word, in this case, places. So Facebook pages for places include places, as you can see in the search result. So, and it's not always perfect. You'll still occasionally get a place, but it will eliminate those places for you, a lot of those places for you. Okay. Also, what is really, really useful about searching for Facebook pages in Google as opposed to in Facebook is you can use and actually I'm going to do this in Colombian Google. Okay. What's really useful about searching within Google is you can go to herramientas and de cualquier fecha. Apologies for my bad pronunciation. I'm sure that was pretty bad. And you can select different time periods. And so what this does is allows you to search for active Facebook groups. So you can filter the search results to active Facebook pages or Facebook groups. So I can look at Facebook groups that have been active in the past month. And again, we see that this is matching in the description, which is the advantage of using Google. And all we have here, all we are left with, are pages that have been active in the last month, which is really great because you don't want to be wasting your time with pages and groups that just aren't active. Of course not. Why would you? Okay. Getting close to done here. Let's talk just a moment about searching within Facebook and Instagram. The gist here is that searching Facebook and Instagram is not ideal. The search functionality for both is pretty weak. And actually, Facebook does not have an API. API, again, being an application programming interface. It's the way that it's the system by which we write URL requests to Facebook to get data back. They don't have an API for posts, only pages and groups. And what that means is you cannot search directly for Facebook posts, Facebook posts occurring anywhere on the Facebook platform. You have to search, you have to pull posts from pages and groups individually. Actually, there is technically a public post API, the public feed API, but only a couple of publishers have access to it. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, didn't CrowdTangle allow us to search for posts? And you're right. CrowdTangle does allow us to do that. And the reason that we can do that in CrowdTangle, whereas we can't, whereas we wouldn't be able to do it with data collection. So the distinction here being CrowdTangle is storing its own data. So when you're searching, when you're querying CrowdTangle's data. So that's why you're able to search posts much the way that you would in Twitter, because you're not going through Facebook, you're going through CrowdTangle or NewsWhip. But again, because there's no public feed API, that means that you're not going to be able to request posts directly from Facebook servers. Rather, you're going to have to be collecting posts from pages and groups. So we're going to be giving Facebook, when we're making requests for data, we're going to be giving them identifying information for pages and groups, and they're going to be giving back the posts from those pages and groups. So just really briefly on Instagram, and the reason I mentioned Instagram is because Instagram is incorporated in CrowdTangle and NewsWhip as well. Instagram search, similar to Facebook, is extremely limited. In fact, it's even more limited because you're limited to one hashtag or one location at a time. And I won't bother jumping into Instagram and showing you how to search, because I'm sure you know how to search on Instagram. I'm sure you've been on Instagram and you know how to search on Instagram. There's nothing special to it. But I will note then, in case you didn't realize, that there is you can access Instagram from your desktop. So you don't have to be searching on your phone. Not everybody knows that, so I just wanted to mention that. Okay. Lastly, I have another tool for everyone to sign up for. So when you get a chance, go to trendsmap.com and register for the tool using one of your social accounts. We're going to be using TrendsMap. TrendsMap has created the graph that we looked at the beginning of the presentation, that nice little trend graph. We're going to be working with that next weekend. And in order to get everybody extended access, I need to hand over, I need to give those emails over to TrendsMap. So once you sign up, send me an email at nick@firstdraftnews.com, and I'll make sure that I'll send that over. I'll make sure that gets sent over along with the URLs that I'm going to be sending you for the search operator guides. Yeah, just sign up for the tool. Let me know when you have. That way I can get you all access before the end of next week. Okay. Well, that's been this short little remote presentation. Hopefully I didn't move too fast. Hopefully it's been helpful. If you have any questions, you can of course send me an email before next weekend, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, I did send links. I did send we sent an email out to you all before with some links to different stories that I have done and different stories that First Draft has done on exactly the content that we covered today. So if this didn't totally make sense to you, or if I moved a little too quickly, something like that, you can look at those articles as well, and they'll give you the same content. And then remember to add your search queries to the Google Sheet that was sent out before, along with those links. Okay, well, that's everything for now. Again, Claire and I are, Claire is really looking forward to talking to you guys, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you all next weekend. And I hope this was helpful. All right, thanks, everybody. Oh, looks we have some questions. All right, we'll answer these. Yes, so the question from Sandra was, will the and or operators work the same in Spanish using E and O? So if you go to Google, oh, actually, you know what? I'm thinking of Twitter. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'm not sure about that. Let me get back to you on that. I did give a try to searching to see if there were any Spanish operators for Google, and I did not find any. But let me check again and see if I can find anything. But I do know for sure that Twitter has Spanish operators that you can use. Sandra asked, will the and or operators work the same? If you use E and O, will it work the same as the and or operators? So Twitter does have Spanish operators, Spanish versions of the operators. If you go to twitter.com/search, here you can and click this button right here. You can get a table of the operators. So those are there. I am not sure in the case of Google. I did try and look for them, but I was not able to find them. So I'm not sure. I'll give another look and see if I can find it. But I think the answer might be no in the case of Google. Okay, and the next question she asked was, with what happens in Bogota now, it has been seen that some politicians buy pages that already have followers. Is there any way to trace which page they were before? Okay. Interesting. I think if I understand your question right, so in the case of Facebook, I don't think that you can pull histories of likes or followers. In the case of Twitter, in order to make a judgment as to when an account gained followers or lost followers, you would need to be pulling information, but you would be accessing a particular type of API, which would be giving you user information, like the tweets and the followers, and you would have to be making those requests on a regular basis. So if you were making those requests of, say, politicians' Twitter accounts on a regular basis, you would be able to tell, you would be able to generate a graph of when that account gained or lost followers. There are other ways of getting at a Twitter account, and Twitter account specifically, a Twitter account's follower history. They are very technical and really tricky. But if you're really interested, reach out to me over email, or reach out to me over the weekend, or next weekend rather, and we can talk about it. But generally, if you wanted to get a sense of how a Twitter account's followers were changing, you would need to be making requests for that account's user information on a regular basis. If you suspect that that sort of change has already happened, if you suspect that an account has already bought followers. If, say, a politician has already bought followers for their account, you would have to use that technical solution that I mentioned. So again, if you're really interested in it, reach out to me individually, and we can talk about it. But it is tricky. It does involve use of an algorithm to figure that out. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So there's a question about. There's a question about conducting a search on what each candidate is raising about what sorts of things candidates are saying about mental health. That's a great question. So in the case of Facebook, like I mentioned, Facebook doesn't have that public feed API. Well, I guess in this case it doesn't matter. So in the case of Facebook, what you would be doing is pulling all of the posts from, say, a politician's Facebook page, and then after you have all that data, you would be searching within it to look for references to mental health policy. And so that's a matter of just generating a list of terms that you can search for in the data to get a sense of what each candidate is saying about mental health. In the case of Twitter, there is a from operator. So here, let me show you. Let me zoom in here so you can see it. So there's a from operator, which means that you can, what this allows you to do is limit the results to tweets from a particular person. And so, as you can see, now in this search result, all I'm seeing are tweets from Claire. And so you can combine that operator with that from operator with, again, a series of terms relating to mental health or mental health policy. That's just a matter of sitting down and thinking about ways the candidates are referring to mental health policy, throwing that together, and that could be a search query that you throw into CrowdTangle if you wanted to look at what the candidates are saying about mental health in real time. Or again, you could throw that query at Twitter servers to get data relevant to what you're interested in. Okay. And additionally, in the case of Twitter, you could simply just be collecting the timelines of candidates on a regular basis. There is a particular sort of request that you can make to the Twitter server just for that account's timeline. You could be collecting that on a regular basis, and then you could, after the fact, similar to what you would do in Facebook, after the fact, look for references to mental health. But if you craft the right query using the from operator, it would be much easier for you to track conversations or statements from the candidates about mental health in real time. Oh, okay. All right, I guess that's all the questions we have for now. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with me, bearing through all the technical difficulties and the couple of moments when I accidentally went offline. I apologize for that. Hopefully it was funny. Just to let you know, this video, Mariana is going to be doing Spanish subtitles for this video. So this video is going to be saved, and it's going to be posted with Spanish subtitles so that you can review it on your own time. Yeah, okay. I think that's everything for now. Thanks again for getting up a little bit early on Saturday to do this with me. It's going to help. Make sure that you're updating that Google Sheet with your search queries and your user lists, and we'll hit the ground running next weekend. All right, thanks everyone.